What if I told you that one of America's most famous war heroes was also one of its most controversial figures? George Armstrong Custer, celebrated as a fearless cavalry general, yet condemned as reckless and arrogant, is a man whose life ended in one of the most shocking defeats in U.S. history. But who was Custer, really? Was he the brave boy general of the Civil War? Or the reckless commander whose choices led to disaster at Little Bighorn? Today, we uncover the untold story of Custer, his triumphs, his flaws, and the love story that defined him. Get ready, because what you're about to learn will challenge everything you thought you knew about this legendary figure. Picture a man wrapped in both legend and dispute, a figure whose name is linked to courage and cruelty alike. General George Armstrong Custer, the notorious cavalry commander, is permanently inscribed in the pages of history. But what lies beneath the polished story of his career? What truths have remained buried, waiting to be revealed? From the Civil War battlefronts to the ill-fated clash at Little Bighorn, Custer's story has long been cloaked in enigma. Join us in this episode as we explore the lesser-known chapters of Custer's life and bring to light the facts that history has kept concealed for so long. Prepare to rethink what you know and uncover the many layers of a man whose influence on Native American history continues to echo today. So settle in, get comfortable, and come with us on this captivating journey. While you watch, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to help this community grow. Within the history of the Academy, Custer racked up more violations than anyone before him. Though he graduated at the bottom of his class, his sharp mind was never in doubt. Each time he landed himself in serious trouble, he would buckle down and find a way to recover. His existence was a blend of recklessness and strict order. Straight out of West Point when war erupted, Custer's daring on the battlefield showed he was ready for command. Knowing his only asset was his very life, he grabbed every chance to climb the ranks during the conflict. He threw himself into peril to stand out, riding with his men from the very front. With several mounts shot from beneath him and dressed in eye-catching uniforms, Custer became an obvious mark for enemy sharpshooters. His flashy style perfectly mirrored his bold actions. Custer never shrank from setting the standard, joining his men in every bloody clash of the nation's deadliest war, yet somehow walking away nearly unharmed. He credited this to his faith in luck, earning commendations for bravery beginning with his very first fight at Bull Run. His remarkable cavalry feats turned him into a favorite of the press, with the New York Tribune hailing him as a hero worthy of future novels. The soldiers of his Michigan brigade, many of them twice his age, admired Custer deeply, trailing him into some of the fiercest encounters of the war, proudly wearing the same bright red cravats he sported. In the fire of the Civil War, Custer's fearless, headstrong, and motivating leadership style was exactly what was needed. On the battlefield, everything is about what can be seen, and Custer grasped this fully. He had to be a skilled performer, radiating fearlessness and swagger as he rode ahead of his men with sword raised. This image of Custer charging became iconic, earning him a place on the cover of Harper's Weekly and forever linking his name with that heroic vision. After his victory at Gettysburg, Custer became one of the most celebrated officers of the war, gaining the moniker the Boy General. He stayed on the fighting lines until the very final day of the war, even receiving the flag of truce when General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox on April 9, 1865. Custer's most respected superior, Lieutenant General Philip Sheridan, gifted him the very table on which the peace treaty had been signed, along with a personal note to Libby, Custer's wife. The note read, "Permit me to say, madam, that there are few in our service who have done more to help achieve this result than your brave husband." One striking thing about Custer is the sheer number of photos taken of him. He knew the power of public imagery and how it could be used. His flamboyant outfits and flowing hair tapped into popular visions of the gallant knight and romantic cavalier, merging them into a persona all his own. He carefully shaped this image, growing his hair long and scenting it with cinnamon oil, proud of his handsome features and smooth complexion. His knack for mixing soft elegance with rough courage, polite manners with fearless energy, made him stand out. Though some mocked him as a showman or oddity, his theatrical style mostly worked to his benefit. In the late 1800s, nearly all public figures had to embrace a touch of theater to hold public interest. Custer had a natural flair for drama, always appearing in ways that drew attention. But after Appomattox, Custer found that peace was harder to face than war. Even though he held a battlefield promotion to Major General of Volunteers, he reverted to the low rank of captain in the regular army. The military had shrunk from over 1 million men to just 30,000, and chances for promotion were slim. The once busy officer corps was now a shadow of its wartime self. Gone were the constant battles and high-speed tempo of conflict. Custer drifted, unsure of his next move. In that uncertainty, he leaned on the one person who meant the most to him, his wife, Elizabeth Bacon Custer. "Oh, Audie, we must die together. I would rather have the simplest life with you than the grandest life apart." These heartfelt words from Libby, his anchor and confidant, left a deep mark on Custer, helping him navigate the stormy post-war years. "Allow me to remind my darling that while I live, she is everything to me. If fate decrees my death, my last thought will be for her, my last breath will speak her name, and heaven will not be heaven until we are together again." Their romance began in Monroe, Michigan, where Custer had moved at 14 to live with his half-sister and study at Stebbins Academy. By the autumn of 1862, he returned as a handsome 23-year-old captain, serving on the staff of General George McClellan, one of Monroe's most desirable young bachelors. Libby, 3 years younger, was the charming and refined daughter of Judge Daniel Bacon and one of the most admired students at the ladies' seminary. Initially unimpressed by Custer, she eventually fell for his relentless courtship. Though her father disapproved, she was captivated by being the center of Custer's universe. Libby was not only attractive, but also intelligent, qualities that drew Custer in. Their romance was fiery and idealistic. "Oh, how dear he is! I love him beyond words. I still feel his words in my ears, his kisses on my lips." These were Libby's own words, expressing how completely she adored him. "Sometimes I forget everything else when I think of him. If loving with all one's soul is madness, then I am ready for the asylum." Together they embodied the image of the knight and his lady, a life full of drama and adventure that Libby longed for. Custer's meteoric rise through the ranks softened Judge Bacon's objections, and the couple married on February 9, 1864. Their honeymoon was brief, as Custer was soon called back to duty, and Libby eagerly accompanied him to the front. Defying expectations for Army wives, Libby insisted on staying close to the action, whether in a tent or a house near the battles. She was a constant force at Custer's side. In her own right, Libby was a charismatic and strong presence. It seemed as if their lives and ambitions were fused into a single mission. Libby believed Custer was destined for greatness and wanted to share that destiny. Even when war separated them, their long, heartfelt letters, sometimes 20 pages or more, kept their bond unbroken. He called her "my rosebud" or "my darling sunbeam," while she called him Audie, a childhood nickname, or simply Beau. From early on, they considered their lives inseparable. "When I think of my recent successes and all that has been said about my courage, I think of her hearing it and being proud of her boy," Custer wrote. "Remember, I cannot love as I do without my life being joined to yours." Theirs was a true partnership of equals. "I would not give up my individuality, but would be, as a wife should be, part of her husband, a life within a life," Libby said. "I never liked the idea of a submissive wife, but I wanted to look up to my husband's wisdom and let him guide me." She dedicated herself to advancing his career, believing that Custer was shaping history. Finally, in autumn 1866, Custer was offered a post with the 7th Cavalry. Was General Custer famous for his romantic pursuits as well as his battlefield exploits? Thank you for watching today's episode on Empire History Central. Please like, share, and subscribe to help grow our rising community.